everybody, Moses Frost here, and I'm coming to you from San Antonio, Texas, where I am delivering my Sec 588 class. Last night was Net Wars, so I was up until 10 o'clock at night before I actually could even get back to my room. It was actually a fun event. Whenever I host it, it's usually at least really, really good music. So, today, I am speaking about Watchtower security and a brand new CVE. There is a big kerfuffle around Veeam. All right, let's talk about Veeam. So, what is Veeam? Veeam is a pretty old, now, full disclosure, I've had friends that work there. Veeam is a God, okay, so I'm going to date myself. When I first got into VMware, it was many, many, many years ago. And I don't want to even tell you how many years ago because some of you may not have even been born that are watching this video. Along with that came the Veeam system. So Veeam, they made their name by being able to snapshot and replicate virtual machines. Okay. And at the time, it was pretty cutting edge. What they would do is they would log in, they'd take a snapshot, and then they would back up that virtual machine. And then for disaster recovery, which disaster recovery is always a fun one, for disaster recovery, you would have to restore it and, make sure it works. They made a lot of money doing this because a lot of people use VMware, and VMware did not have the tools to necessarily do this. So they made a name for themselves. Now, over the years, when I've talked to other friends, it turns out that Veeam itself, they've had their own share of issues. Veeam, well, what can I say? They have had some really, 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 let's just say, interesting examples of how to set up an environment. For example, you can, end user, or as a freebie user, set up something. I think my friend was telling me that where you can be a part of their cloud. Let's just put it that way. So I've seen some really interesting replication conversations out of them. But their core product, well, it's been around forever. And like any product that's been around a long time, there's probably dragons. That's what I call any kind of software bugs that are architectural bugs that were maybe created a decade or maybe 2 decades ago. Okay. So Java. Let's talk about Java. If you've ever taken a web app pen testing class from me, the ones that I wrote, or from anybody else, you may have seen some deserialization object issues in Java. Chris Rolfe was over at Qualcomm, did a great set of presentations and created WISO serial. And even before WISO serial, Java method overriding, method overloading from people like Esteban and some others that were affiliated with groups like Immunity, doing some really, really solid work. The way that they explained it to me was Java exploitation is interesting because it has a security manager that you're not supposed to violate. That's kind of a fascinating view of the way that Java security works. Well, even in some of the older Java exploit stuff, if you found a certain method, a certain gadget that was a deserialization sink and a vendor, I'm looking at you. What was the Elasticsearch one? I think was a good one where they installed Groovy as an option. So you can run Groovy in a quote unquote sandbox in Elasticsearch. And the way that they did it was they blacklisted certain methods. Turns out that you can just work around the blacklist. And so people did for years until I think they eventually just removed Groovy from the actual Elasticsearch engine, which, I mean, to be honest with you, that's actually not a bad idea. So what's going on? Well, Watchtower came up with a deserialization gadget for Veeam. That's not maybe weird. I mean, bugs happen. I'm not going to blame Veeam for bugs. Bugs happen. Their mechanism for securing it is, well, it's just to not do Veeam. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just not to allow these gadgets to be used. And so they were able to work around the bug, right? Because that's what you do. You find another gadget and it's a big code base, and you just work around the bug. So blacklisting bad, whitelisting good. That's the idea. This is what the researchers are yelling at Veeam about. However, and I'm going to take Veeam's side here a little bit, I don't know how big that code base is, and I don't exactly know how difficult it would be for them to necessarily Well, just block the thing, right? Like this is not like just whitelisting is not going to be something that maybe you can do overnight. So you've got a choice. You can either delay the patch by a long, long time, do a lot of work to figure out all the places where you are using a method that could be vulnerable and the whole thing, or you can just implement a blacklist now and try to do something later. I would imagine they're trying to do that. You always question, right? The interesting thing about Java is unlike C or any other compiled language, when somebody creates a patch, well, hell, when anybody creates software, you can just decompile it. I mean, that's just the way Java, .NET work. I mean, Java and .NET do the same thing. So the researchers, as patches come out, can see the changes that Veeam is making. And so they're yelling at Veeam. Now, do you want to yell at this vendor who's trying to fix things? I don't know if you could shame them into doing something that is possible or impossible. And honestly, I haven't looked at the code base. I have no idea what they're looking at, right? I saw the bug. I saw what it is. It's a standard, invoke method issue. I saw the patch. I'm assuming you can work around the patch, of course. I don't know. By the way, if you want to work around the patch, load the damn source code into your IDE, execute it, and walk the tree. That's what you do, right? And you'll find maybe another gadget. And, I'm sure there's automation now around finding gadgets and whatnot. And if you want to do that, great. But that's what's going on. And you'll see a big kerfuffle around this in the news. Well, I don't know. I don't know what to say about these things. Everybody is free to have a choice to talk. Here's what I will say. If you want my honest opinion, you got to endure goodwill as a vendor, especially with the people that are trying to secure your code. Veeam is used in a lot of places, in a lot of sensitive areas, and it affects a lot of people. And so if you're going to be publishing software, you hope you're doing your level best to protect your customers. I'm sure, right? However, right, they are really trying to implement a whitelist. If they're trying to do this properly, it would make sense as a vendor. If I was in their shoes, I'm going to give them some grace, right? It makes sense as a vendor that you would first implement the direct patch, right? Something that will prevent easy remote code execution and work towards implementing a better solution. I don't know how much work effort that is. And I don't know if anybody who doesn't work at the company can figure that out either. So giving people a little bit of grace when it comes to how they patch is important, right? Now, I could be totally wrong, and within a year from now, you'll see no action, and 2 years, and 3 years, and 4 years, and 5 years, and the next versions come out, and that, you know what? That's a vendor decision. Now, the other fun one in this story is Active Directory. If you've ever taken my class, I tell you just get rid of it. Just please, for the love of God, it should end. It should just die a horrible death. And I know what you're going to say. Well, Azure Active Directory is expensive, and there's gremlins in there, et cetera, et cetera. I get all that, right? But Active Directory has some problems. And so, like anything else, they're saying that it requires authentication, okay, in order to fire this exploit. However, in practice, right, now we're talking about vendor best practice versus reality, okay? The vendor says that really nobody should be hooking up Veeam to Active Directory. It's not required. That is their stance. In practice, I don't know many Veeam systems out there that are not hooked up to Active Directory. And as a matter of fact, Veeam is used in many thousands, and it's like SolarWinds. It's used everywhere, right? So you've got a lot of systems hooked up to Active Directory. This exploit requires, from my understanding, a domain account, any domain account. So any company out there that's got a Active Directory system that has domain account, well, guess what? I'm sorry. It's going to be all of them. And so authentication or not, the fact that it's very weak authentication effectively means everyone can exploit your box. All they need is an account, which is an Active Directory. It's not really that hard. So all things to think about. Are you running Veeam? I mean, if you are, a couple things I would recommend. One is don't hook it up to Active Directory. That's easy, right? Number two, it doesn't have to be even on the same network as everybody else. It could just be doing the stuff to get to the control plane, which hopefully is on a different network, and then, move it to, move it off just your storage environment, control plane. That's all it needs access to. That's it, right? VMware, storage environment, done. And then patch. There's some critical systems in your company that you should patch. And there's some that, well, whatever, right? The ones that you should patch are things like, VMware and theme. I mean, sorry, that's just the way it is. Anyway, I hope this video finds you well. If you're interested in ever taking a class with me, I've got an upcoming training in San Diego in May. You can find it on the SANS website. If I will be overseas this summer at some point at some event, you could find one of those trainings as well. And so if you find these videos interesting and you really want to take a cloud class with me, and you know what, I'll bring coffee, then you'll be able to find that on the website. Thank you, and if you wouldn't mind subscribing, that'd be great.